Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Super Game Brothers podcast, a weekly podcast all about board games and video games that I do together with my brother Devin. This time he's not the man in black, which is kind of a crazy occurrence. Devin, how are you, man in white?
I'm turning over a new leaf. Doing well.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this cooler weather. Our air is supposedly not good to breathe right now because of fires. So,
are they fires in like California? I feel like they're always the problem.
I think so. Somewhere, yeah. I don't know. Idaho, Oregon, I don't know.
Let me see.
I don't know. Somewhere. Dad said, I ain't never seen air this low quality ever here. So, oh shoot.
Really?
Oh no.
What is the air index? Is that what it's called? Quality Utah. And mine doesn't look terrible. 104 air quality index. Did he tell you what the number was he saw?
No. I don't really know what the numbers mean though.
I think the higher the number, the worse. So if you're down closer to 0, then you're golden. They have a little bar here. So 0 to 50 are green. 50 to 100 is yellow. 100 to 150 is orange. 150 to 200 is red, and anything above that is like dark purple.
I see.
But you guys are over a little further west than me, so maybe that's why. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even know that because I've been inside all day.
Oh, same. It's what I always do. But other than that, I'm good. I like the cooler weather. I'm excited for spooky season. Already been watching my horror films.
Nice.
I watched Oddity. Have you seen that yet?
I haven't. I want to watch it, but I don't know if I can talk my wife into it. It's supposed to be a good one though. Did you like it?
Yes, I would say I liked it. Very unique, different approach on that genre. Like, it's not really your typical horror film. Like I feel like after the movie, you're like, I'm not scared. But a little bit eerie, I guess.
Yeah. That weird like mannequin thing she's making in that movie is really strange.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but she like they claim it's made out of wood.
That's what I read as well, but it doesn't look like wood, at least from the trailer I watched.
Yeah, it looks like something different. Yeah, that one's fun. I also watched M. Night's Trap movie.
That one only in theaters right
now? We were able to rent it via Amazon Prime.
Oh, cool.
If you should watch that. You should watch that. High energy, like your heart rate's up here for a long time. You're
really?
Just like, I don't know. Oh yeah, that show will stress you out.
It seems like it's much different than the first trailer or something even made it seem, because the first trailer is like, hey, it's this dad taking his daughter to a concert, and then they maybe get stuck in like the arena or something. But then I saw like if I'm thinking of the right movie, is that part of the movie?
Yes, yeah.
And it's the guy from Pearl Harbor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, his Josh Hartnett, is that him? No.
The guy from
Who am I thinking
Harbor.
of? Isn't that it's Josh Hartnett, right? Let me see.
Probably.
Trap
I just
movie.
know him as the guy from Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, Josh Hartnett. So we were getting there. But then I saw like a movie poster, and it's Josh Hartnett standing there looking like a creep. And so I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I'm guessing there's some twists, as there are with most of Mr. Shyamalan's movies.
It's such a different approach to the horror genre. I don't even want to put it in the horror genre. It is so suspenseful, and you're just getting a weird angle of the story. Super, super cool movie. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but I think that you should watch it.
So you liked it better, you think, as far as like uniqueness and like enjoyment watching the movie out of those two?
I enjoyed both of the films a lot, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, they're not perfect, but they're good. When you're used to watching so many bad horror films, something that's mediocre to good's like, oh, heck yeah, I'm going to suggest this to all my friends.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm curious, what do you think is the best horror movie you've watched this year? So you've got those two you just mentioned, even if Trap maybe isn't like traditional horror. You've got Longlegs. If I type in horror movies 2024, the list that it pulls up are, some of these I've never heard of. They look like they're like straight to Watchers, The Crow, Sting about the big spider, Immaculate. I can probably.
I watched
here.
Immaculate. I watched Watchers.
The Strangers, Chapter 1, Abigail.
I saw Abigail. I saw The Strangers Chapter 1 in theater as well.
I feel like there were more big ones that I'm missing here on this list, though.
I liked The Strangers Chapter 1. It was super unique, and the main girl in that, the character they had her play was just very down to earth and very sweet, and she's just beautiful. Oh my goodness. Have you seen that yet?
No. I really like the original with Liv Tyler, though. Very creepy. Just the idea of them like kind of stalking her in her house without her knowing first. And I feel like they've had a sequel or two that got kind of away from. I feel like that movie needs to be like one location, like trapped in the house or whatever it is. I feel like in one of the sequels they even like got out of the house and let's make it bigger and bigger, and sometimes it's just best if they focus. I feel like one of my other favorite movies in that genre is Hush, if you've seen that one, where the woman is she deaf, right?
She is deaf, yes.
Yeah. She's kind of blown up since that movie because I think she's in all of the Netflix shows, like the what are they called? Haunting of Hill House and.
Oh, really?
I think it's that same.
A Bry Manor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, but out of those, you got Trap, Longlegs, Oddity. What else did we say? Strangers, Chapter 1, Immaculate.
Immaculate was fine. It's kind of your like typical possession, kind of like.
Let's see. I'll click on this list here by Rotten Tomatoes. Maybe this will have better stuff here.
Oddity took a very unique approach, which I respect. Super, super weird. The whole idea of the whole movie is weird. So I enjoyed that. Longlegs, very visually stimulating. They use colors and really weird camera angles to throw you off. I wouldn't say either one of those films scared me, though. I don't think any film I've watched this year has scared me, sadly. I watched In a Violent Nature. That's kind of a slasher from... That movie was a trip. Very brutal. You've got to watch that and watch one of the scenes. You'll be like, what did I just witness? Because it's absolute... Oh, the way one of the people gets...
dies.
Wrecked. Is just, it's too much.
I feel like that is the pitfall that a lot of horror movies fall into, is like, well, I don't know if our idea is like cool enough, so we're gonna just triple down on the gore. But that movie is very unique in that it is following the killer around, I think, for the entire movie, right? And so you would expect to see some of that, since I don't think the camera ever leaves them, does it? The villain monster guy.
I can't remember. Have you ever seen Black Christmas? I think it's called Black Christmas. It's older. I want to say that's from the POV of the killer as well.
Oh, really? A couple more just popped up on this list. We got A Quiet Place Day 1. I still haven't seen that one. I want to watch that.
That's on streaming apps now.
Is it?
It's on...
You're probably right.
It's either Peacock or Paramount. I want to say Peacock. Do you have
Alien?
Peacock?
I can't remember. Oh wait, yes, we do. That's the one that had the Olympics, and we're watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine on. So yeah, we have that one. Cool. I'll have to watch that. Alien Romulus, Cuckoo.
Haven't seen it. Want to see it.
I've heard of some of these other ones. The Dead Thing, The Last Breath, Strange Darling, The Deliverance, The Beast Within, Maxine.
The Deliverance was kind of dumb.
The Deliverance was.
Almost watched Maxine, but we had to rent it, so we didn't do so.
I saw
third
the TV
installment
Glow.
of Pearl and Axe. What one is it?
I saw the TV Glow. I think you've mentioned that one.
Fantastic.
A few times. You liked that one a lot.
If you like just a brain trip, yeah.
March. We've got Late Night with the Devil.
That's a very unique. You called it something. When something will like come out of a human or something. What did you call this?
Oh, body horror?
Yeah, maybe body. Yeah, body horror, monster body. I don't know. You called this something.
Yeah.
Something unique.
Yeah, sometimes body horror is too much for me, but
this one taps into like 1990s body horror. It's not so gruesome, and it's another mind trip movie. Like,
okay.
Very, very weird. You should watch that as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of them I need to watch. And some coming up are They Follow, the sequel to It Follows. Terrifier 3. Yeah, It Follows is great. I've never seen Terrifier, but I've heard they are like, again, just like in crazy on the brutality spectrum.
Oh my gosh, it's so brutal. Yeah, I've seen both of those. I don't need to watch the third, to be honest. I probably will, but
Devin can't be stopped.
There's another sequel, Smile.
Oh, Smile 2.
Coming out, yeah. Have you seen the first yet? Has Lacey watched it with you or no?
No.
Okay.
I had her watch the trailer for the second one with me. Yeah. Let's see. As far as Rotten Tomatoes is concerned, they gave a 97% to Late Night with the Devil, a 96 to Oddity, 95 to Strange Darling.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I feel like I don't either. I hit more. Oh no, it's loading a new page. That's not what I wanted.
Ooh, I'm glad we found this. It has almost an 8 on IMDb, which is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Infested got a 96.
Okay.
I should probably just send you this list, but In Flames 95, New Life 94, Stop Motion 91.
Stop motion was weird. I don't think it was that good.
The Devil's Bath 90.
The
Long
Devil's
Legs.
Bath.
Did you watch it, or is that just a dumb name?
No, just that name.
Yeah, it's a dumb name. Yeah. Long Legs 85, Quiet Place 86, Out of Darkness 86. I saw the TV Glow 84. Yeah, this list is pretty long. There's quite a few. Cool. I have so many to catch up on. I think the ones I could talk Lacey into watching are Quiet Place. I saw the TV Glow. Long Legs. Maybe Oddity. But I just won't show her the trailer first. Because I think the opening sequence with like the guy knocking on the door. I'm assuming that's the opening sequence. I read like a review saying the opening's pretty creepy. If I show her the trailer and she sees that part, she'll be out. Movies like that really scare her, where it's like a home invasion, where that's not as scary to me. Like aliens and stuff are like more scary to me. So it's kind of funny. She gets just scared differently than I do, which is normal. But cool. That's a lot of good ones.
I understand not wanting to watch them. I really do. Sometimes I watch them and I'm like, why did I want to do that? But
yeah.
I can't stop myself.
Here's the worst ones of the year so far. We got Lumina, 0%.
I don't know.
Tarot, 18%. Camp Pleasant Lake. Oh, you watched it?
Yeah.
Camp Pleasant Lake, 20%.
I don't know.
Night Swim.
Yeah, dumb. Well, I've seen it twice.
Seen it twice, 20%. The next one, they gave The Strangers Chapter 1, 21%.
No, it was better than that. I thought the acting was good. I don't know. I was like super into the relationship the guy and the girl had. Like, I was like, oh, she loves him so much. This is so cute. Like, I don't know. I didn't think it sucked.
Okay. The Watchers.
Yeah, super weird. I think I've seen that twice as well.
They gave that a 32. And
I have seen it twice.
Oh, here you go. This one, higher than all the ones I just mentioned. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2.
I've seen bits of it, and it's ridiculous.
It just from the image here of Winnie the Pooh, who looks very ticked off, holding a chainsaw. Yeah, that looks like something. The Sting. Well, Sting's up in the 70%, so we're getting into like the pretty good ones. Cool. Do you like Alien? I really like the first Alien movie. I've actually never seen Aliens, which some people like better. It's like more action.
That's number 2.
A little less scary. Yeah, I've actually never seen the second one. Both of those are supposed to be absolutely excellent. But...
Yeah, I think I've seen every Alien movie. Seen Alien Covenant multiple times. I can't remember all the names, but yeah, if you
the only other one I've seen is Prometheus.
Oh yeah, Prometheus is cool.
Yeah,
I think that if you compare it to like the Predator movies, even though you've got Let's Get to the Chopper, even though he's in it, Alien's so much cooler in my opinion than those Predators.
Alien's way cooler than Predator. That first Predator movie is pretty baller though.
I hardly remember.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. It has like just, I don't even know how many there are, like 7 insanely ripped dudes in that.
Heck yeah.
Because it's Arnold Schwarzenegger and the other main guy, his name's Dylan in the show. I can't remember the actor's name. He plays Apollo Creed in Rocky, the original Rocky. So he's that. Yeah. And he's in it, and he's also in
massive
Forrest
too.
Gump. He is huge in that. Yeah, they're all just huge, and it's like these huge, scary guys just getting killed in the forest by that monster. I really like the first one. Yeah, I really do. I think it's good, but I think Alien's way cooler than the Predator. I actually really liked Prey. I watched that one on Hulu like 6 months ago.
That's
the latest
that has the
Predator movie
in it.
Yeah, that one was cool. I think they're making another one of those, but yeah, I love movies. I just haven't had enough time yet. I still haven't even watched the first episode of Rings of Power yet.
What?
I know. I'm so behind. How was it?
That show, I mean, just like the first season, is so well done.
Yeah, I'm sure. Production value just
it's unbelievable. I'm not going to say anything about it because I don't want to spoil it for you or anyone that might be listening. But wow.
I saw some people online. People get upset over everything. Like
I'm sure.
I don't really care unless it gets too ridiculous. Like Princess Leia flying in outer space. That's too far. She should, die from lack of oxygen. But right. If you go a little far with like, we got Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley, and they can kind of connect because they're a dyad in the Force. I'm okay that far. But I think the thing people are upset about with Rings of Power is there's like an orc or a goblin, like mom and dad, like holding a baby orc or something in the episode, and they're like,
okay,
so they have babies now. And I'm just like, that doesn't seem like a stretch too far to me. But
no, it's not. It's just a different approach. It makes you kind of consider that orcs are not just all
right.
Kill.
Yeah.
Like,
and that was what was
a little bit of humanity to them, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that is accurate. I think they're like a breed, a race of creatures that would have children. They're not like the Uruk-hai, who are like kind of created for war, and I think just kind of like
terrifying,
artificially like created in whatever those sacks were in Isengard. I don't know Lord of the Rings lore very well.
Dude, that Helm's Deep fight is so scary. Can you imagine?
Oh yeah, just being backed into that
And it's at night and it's raining and it's not orcs. It's big. Yeah. It's the big ones, and they've got ladders and they're coming up. Oh, it's intense.
It is. Lacey and I have been talking about watching that series again, and I don't think we'll ever stop watching that. I think it's like the perfect movie trilogy. It's so good. Obviously based on a very seminal series of books by Mr. who I call Tolkien, but most people, I think his name was Tolkien, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I need to watch Rings of Power. I'm behind on a million movies. Oh, what is life? Other than being behind on everything, it seems like, because that is
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, cool. Glowing review from Devin for Rings of Power, so I'm excited to watch that. Is it just one episode, or is it like a 2-hour special, or there's 3?
That's with 3, and you get the 4th tomorrow.
Oh man, I'm already 4 episodes behind. Okay. Well, that was on our agenda to watch tonight. We'll see how late this goes. But cool. Well, how was your long Labor Day weekend, Devin? Anything fun? Any more police encounters?
No police encounters. Hardly got to longboard. We did once. Let's see. Went to an antique shop. That was fun. Went to a pet shop. Looked at some plants with our sister. And
What'd
her
you look
children.
at the pet shop?
What's that?
What'd you look at at the pet shop?
They had axolotls, bro. Do you know what an axolotl is?
I do. I just 3D printed one for my kids.
Oh yeah,
They're a very weird creature.
Those things were playing dead. I swear, I walked around the corner and they would not move the whole time. But weirdest animal I've ever seen. It's like this meaty little bulldog fish that doesn't move. Yeah. Super strange. I don't know the purpose of an axolotl, but there were some puppies in there, reptiles, and it was like kind of like half plant, half animal shop, pet shop.
Oh, okay.
This freaking dog in there though, that was like using the restroom wherever he wanted, and then he also had his dinner in the same spot.
Oh, nice.
And it was disgusting. I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, dogs they're crazy. They don't care. They totally don't care. I gave our dog, we usually just feed him, dog food, because we don't like him to like try to jump on the table, and like different foods can mess with our stomach. I gave him like the tiniest amount of leftover scrambled eggs that our kids didn't eat. Threw up 4 times, ate all 4 loads of throw up. And I was just like, man, I gave you like a tablespoon. I don't know. It was weird. Yeah, dogs are crazy. I like dogs though. They're fun. I just like how much they like people. I think that's the most endearing part of them, is they're just like, our dog doesn't love me that much, but he loves Lacey that much. And just like, you've never seen that person before in your life. And anytime she gets home, it's just, oh, my favorite person ever is here. It's funny. Dogs are crazy.
They are. We should take notes a little bit from that, like try to be a little more like that instead of just annoyed that someone else is in the room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Humans can be tough. We can have some weird traits and habits and patterns.
That's true. I generally don't like it when another human enters the room, so I get it.
How was your Labor Day weekend? What'd you do?
Not much, to be honest. We have a family member in the hospital at the moment. It's not public news yet, so that took a lot of the weekend. And other than that, I feel like there was one more thing though. No, maybe not. I think it was mostly just me hanging out with the kids while my wife was gone for a while. But I guess I did one more thing. I printed another board game insert for Great Western Trail. I think Devin, you had this one pulled up actually, and just want to brag a little bit more about this. This game is really great. I played it for the first time a few weeks ago. But man, they shove so much into that little box. And so it took me like 45 minutes just to set the game up when I played it for the first time. And it's not even that many pieces, like if you look at it. It's just like a ton of cards, and they need to go in very specific spots, and different decks need to be shuffled. You need to take certain cards out. Each player needs their stuff. And they have their own starting cards. And anyways, it was very tricky. And I feel like putting it away in that insert was also terrible. So I made this set of 3D printed stuff to make the game way easier to set up. You basically just give each player a tray, and then the cards are stored in the box in like 8 different compartments where they should be, and you just take the compartments out and plop them on the table, and they'll even hold this little token up that shows like what that stack of cards does. So very, very cool. Wanted to just give that a shout out. Still love the 3D printer. It's fun. Shout out to the person that made this insert. It was not me. I think their name's like Mensa or something on here. So, but other than waiting for the 3D printer to print stuff and hanging out with the kids, not much else for me this weekend. Was nice to have an extra day off of work, though. That's always a nice thing. So yeah, I can't remember when the next day off is though, which is making me bummed. Is Thanksgiving the next one? That seems like so far away.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can't remember. Anyways, yeah, nothing much for me. It is September though, Devin, which is crazy. I don't know how the year's almost over. Yeah, I don't know.
Me neither.
That means that
45 before I know it.
Yeah, me too. I probably will be before this podcast episode's over, but
yeah, maybe.
Our August giveaway is done then. And we announced our winner, I think, on your stream, Devin. I haven't posted the announcement post on Instagram and TikTok yet, but I will. Winner is...
I announced it in Discord and on the stream, so most people know.
Oh, cool. Winner's McKenna. I don't want to say any other part of her name, just in case that's private information, but first name I think is okay. So we'll reach out to you about that. And September's giveaway is up as well. And this month we're also giving away a gift card, or this is a Disney Lorcana Gateway set. This is one of the most popular games in the world right now. Disney Lorcana, it's a trading card game, similar to something like Pokemon or Magic the Gathering, but it's Disney focused. All of the cards have original Disney artwork on them, so the cards are very pretty. I think they're like the main selling point that people love them for. And the game is actually supposed to be pretty fun as well, because it's played differently. It's shorter than Magic the Gathering and a bit simpler, but they're constantly like adding expansions, and you can buy booster packs and stuff. But this Gateway box gives you 2 complete decks and I think a couple booster packs with like the rules and stuff. So you could just have this and never buy any additional stuff and see if Lorcana is for you or not. Yeah, that's what we're giving away this month. Hopefully that will be a big poll. I'm going to post a little bit about it on social media because that game is so big. So yeah, anyways, that's September. Make sure to join that giveaway. You can join it at supergamebrothers.com or at a link in, I think, any of our social media pages. We should have that link up there too. All right, well, getting into the show. This is the Super Game Brothers podcast. We do it every single week, talk about the board games and video games that we've been playing. We have some exclusive perks over on our Patreon. That's patreon.com/supergamebrothers. You can get bonus episodes of the show where we might talk about something specific or do a playthrough of a game that we've been talking about. You can vote on what we might include next. We do a monthly Q&A. You can play games with us on Board Game Arena. Get the podcast episodes 3 days early. All kinds of stuff. So please check us out over there. You can even just follow the Patreon totally for free. And that way you'll at least be able to see the posts. And I do have some posts up there just as free posts. So you can see some extra stuff there too. Again, that's patreon.com/supergamebrothers. All right, we always start with the news mini nuke. This is basically smaller news items, maybe a trailer or a game announcement. And yeah, a bit to go over here. We got 4 new board games that have been announced that are going to be coming to Spiel convention this year. So they should be released this year. And this is a follow-up to last week. We talked about this publisher, Korea Board Games, but they have announced the next 2 games that they're also bringing. So I'll cover this first one, Devin, and then I'll have you read the second one's blurb, at least. Kind of long blurbs, but there's not a lot of info about these games, so at least this blurb can kind of give you an idea of how the game might play. What do you do on your turn? Because other than that and the couple pictures that we'll cycle through, there's not much. This game is called Amazonia Park, designed by Devin.
Reiner Knizia, my guy.
Yeah, Devin's guy, the good doctor, Reiner Knizia.
The good doctor.
He designed so many games, you can't keep up with him. But yeah, it looks like this is a pretty simple, like, tile laying game, I believe. The blurb that they have here is, to set up Amazonia Park, each player takes a face-down morning animal tile from the stack. On a turn, you either place your tile on an empty space on the game board or publish an article. After placing a tile, you look in all 4 orthogonal directions from that space and take picture tokens from the reserve based on the animals in your line of sight. You're kind of taking pictures of animals on the spaces next to the one you put your tile on. Animal tiles, including those printed on the game board, feature 1 to 3 camera symbols, and you take as many picture tokens as cameras. End your turn by drawing a new tile, with evening tiles becoming available after the morning tiles run out. To publish an article, choose an available magazine, then turn in as many animal tokens as required. For example, 5 capybara tokens for the first article in the specialist magazine, Sweet Savage. You can replace a missing token with a pair of another animal tokens, and you can do this multiple times. The next article in Sweet Savage will require 7 tokens, then 9, then 11. The first article in the General Interest magazine requires any 7 animal tokens. And later magazines include bonuses for those who are late to publication. The first player to place an article in each of the 6 magazines wins. If the tile supply runs out before that happens, whoever has the most articles wins, with remaining animal tokens being a tiebreaker. Anyways, kind of a long blurb. Seems like a pretty simple game. Mr. Knizia likes these games where you're playing out on a shared board and you're placing like something on the board to maybe like block the other players, and then the other players have to make their play on the same board, kind of reassessing after you have done your turn. So kind of a common thing for him. This seems like a much simpler version. Some of the other games that he has that do that are Babylonia and Through the Desert, but I think those are quite a bit different and more involved than this one. So anyways, that's Amazonia Park. And next up is a game designed by Roberto Fraga and Johan Go, and it's called, this word I didn't know what it was, but it looks like sushi, Gimbap. Do you know that word, Devin? Gimbap.
Totally.
All right.
Gimbap. You want me to read this? Here we go.
Yeah, go for it.
This is a lot of words, but we're going to get through it. Here we go. This is Gimbap. To set up, each player takes one of each of the components. Gim, dried seaweed, a sheet of each bap, rice, cheese, and paria leaves, and a wooden strip of ham, spinach, and danmuji, yellow pickled radish. Each round turn up point tokens equal to the number of players minus 1. A player rolls 2 to 4 customer dice. Each die has multiple faces that show how the customer wants their ingredients in the gimbap. The cheese must or must not touch the gim. The ham must not touch the spinach and danmuji. The rice must touch the danmuji, etc. The more dice you roll, the harder the challenge. Everyone races to make their gimbap at the same time, which must be finished by rolling the gim and using the Velcro to hold your gimbap together. Grab the highest point token still available. Once everyone has finished, players check their gimbap to see whether they met the customer's request, starting with whoever has the highest token. If a player succeeds, they turn the token face down and keep it. Otherwise, they pass it to whoever finished first after them. If a player has 2 tokens, they keep the higher value token and pass the lower, or they pass the higher one and discard the other. After all tokens have been claimed, whoever has the most points wins. I just read a lot of words. I can't tell you what I read, but maybe you can explain it.
No, I think you're basically just trying to put these, if you go to the other picture, Devin, these pieces together in whatever way the dice have rolled, because that's what the customers want in their Gimbap. And I do appreciate how much gumption and energy you said Gimbap with. Gimbap slaps. It was a Gimbap. So, anyways, I don't know what that word is, but it looks like sushi, but maybe
it's like
not
Overcooked,
rolled
the
up.
board game.
Yeah, that would be maybe fun, even though I feel like lots of friendships would be ruined by a game like that. All right, next up, Oink Games. They make very small games in tiny, tiny boxes. They're bringing 2 games to Spiel in 2024, and they are, first up, this one is called Souvenirs from Venice. It was designed by Jun Sasaki and Goro Sasaki. And in this game, try to get the right goods in Souvenirs from Venice. To set up, lay out the tiles face down in a grid on the table. Each player has a small gondola that will sail between the rows of tiles. On a turn, roll the die, move your gondola, then see what you want to purchase. Souvenirs come in 6 types with 5 to 10 copies of each type, and to score points, you need to collect 3 of the same type. Find the pigeon feed seller, and you must trade one of your souvenirs with a neighbor. Tiles get easier to collect as more are turned up, but you must return to the airport before everything gets flipped over, or else you've missed your plane and lost the game. Looks very simple. I like the minimalist pieces, though. Those little gondola boat pieces or whatever they are cool. And again, they can fit so much game sometimes into their tiny little boxes. Just as an example, this is one of my very favorite games recently. It's called Scout. It's absolutely excellent.
That is very small.
And yeah, tiny box. Basically just some cards and cardboard tokens. It's a card shedding game, kind of like Phase 10, but just infinitely better and shorter. Anyway, so that's the box size that these are going to fit in. So that was Souvenirs from Venice. Then from the same 2 designers, this is a new version of an older game called Deep Sea Adventure, which is probably their second most popular or famous game in Oink's collection, other than Scout. It's called Deep Sea Adventure, and this is a new version with just boost added on the end. So, Devin, I'll let you read this blurb. It's not the full blurb. It's only explaining the difference between this version and the old version. And real quick before you start, I'll kind of explain. In this game, you set up these tiles going down from this submarine, and it's kind of a push your luck game to see how far down you can get. But then you have to get back up to the boat before the oxygen runs out, or else you lose. But the farther down you go, you can get more points. So it's a push your luck game with that kind of balance.
All right, here is the blurb. Deep Sea Adventure Boost features the same gameplay and components as Deep Sea Adventure, but it adds 3 new dice for a new way to play. These dice feature the digits 0 and 3, 1 and 3, and 1 and 2. When you roll, you now roll these 3 dice, then choose 2 of them to determine your movement, although you still subtract points for the treasure you hold. What's more, at the start of your turn, you can decide to boost your movement by using the sum of all 3 dice. But doing so uses an addition unit of air. Will your need for speed leave everyone gasping?
Oh, shoot.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. It's a very short game. It's supposed to be pretty fun. I haven't played this one. I do like a fun push your luck game. And again, fits in a tiny, tiny little box. You just open it up, set those tiles out. It doesn't even have to be in a straight line. Like they kind of had it curved around. So if you're playing on a tiny table. And then, like it said, I think the more kind of treasures you have found, the heavier you are as you're trying to make your way back up to the submarine. And so you have to subtract like from the dice that you roll, like I think 1 for each treasure you're holding. So cool idea, very minimalist kind of game. I know a lot of people love it. So that's a new version, adds those 3 new dice, and just a couple more decisions. All right, and then last up in board game announcements this week, I think this was already announced, but it is officially released now. This is an expansion for Apiary, which I have on my shelf right behind me. It's a fun worker placement game where you are space bees, basically. Humans are extinct, and bees have become sentient, have spaceships, but still love that sweet, sweet honey. And it's an engine building game, but also a worker placement game. Yeah, very fun. I've only played it twice, maybe only once. I can't remember. But it has a good feeling because in a lot of worker placement games, when you go somewhere, you've blocked that spot from everyone. In this one, no spot is ever blocked. When someone else goes there, it bumps your bee back to you. And the bees have 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, and 4. When they get bumped back to you, they level up. So they get stronger for next time. So there's positive interaction in that way, which is nice. You want to get bumped. Cool. Anyways, it's a pretty fun game. I'm not sure if I love it, but I liked it the first time I played it. We'll see how that continues to go. This expansions usually fall into one of 2 categories, like drastically changes the game or just adds more stuff. This is a adds more stuff expansion. So it adds some new ship starting boards there on the right, some new expansion module things on the bottom right, and then it just adds some more cards, 16 new tiles, some new dance tokens, and all of it fits in the original box. So I love that too, when you don't have to keep both boxes. So anyways, I think I explained everything that was in there even without having to read the blurb here, but if you like Apiary, that's probably something on your radar. I think they're selling it on their website, and then it will be in other retail stores soon. I think it was $20 maybe, which isn't too bad. I'll wait for it to be a little lower than that, but I do like Apiary. All right, and then just 3 video game items I wanted to bring up. No Man's Sky got another update, just always updating this game. They get like 10 updates a year. This one's pretty simple. It's focused on fishing and water stuff. So the update is called Aquarius. They just did their big Worlds update maybe a month ago, maybe 2 months at the most, that added these new water physics, which look really cool, to be honest. And it added a ton more. I think they said that their player count is higher than it has been in 5 years because of that update that they did a couple months ago. So No Man's Sky is kind of boosting and doing really well lately, and I'm sure this will be another cool update. It basically has fishing. You can put out these traps to lure fish in and catch different types of fish and keep track of them in your record, and I think there's like an underwater jetpack and all kinds of water focused stuff. So anyways, just wanted to give that a shout out. They continue to release free updates, which is really, really cool. That game went from kind of a train wreck to being very, very well loved. Next up, I just think this one looks funny. I hope it's great. It's called Deliver at All Costs. And it's kind of set in like I'm not even really sure. It kind of has Fallout vibes, like the 40s or 50s or something. As far as like the time period goes. But the gameplay is from an isometric, kind of halfway top-down angle. You are trying to deliver stuff. You like work at a company that delivers goods, and you have to deliver them at all costs, like the name entails. And there's like crazy, like what looks like physics and like damage engine. You just have to make your deliveries, but crazy stuff's happening. You'll be chased by the police. That was just an asteroid falling down. Looks very silly. So I don't know. I think that could be really fun. Not much more to say about it. Amazing. It looks really, really silly. It has at the end of the trailer, they mention Switch, Xbox, PC, and PlayStation, I believe, but no date. So I'm guessing next year sometime. Who knows? Okay, and then last up, just one more trailer for The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. This comes out on the 26th, and this trailer goes over the Still World, which are these purple, void areas that Zelda can go into, and some of the dungeons and specific activities and items can be found here. And it looks like, it's just kind of a different dimension here. So some of the stuff is upside down or sideways. They also show she picks up what they call a mysterious sword. Looks like it's probably obviously going to be the Master Sword, I imagine. When she gets that item, she can enter a Sword Master form, but only for a short time. And you have to recover these little blue pieces in order to recharge that up. So most of this game is played by summoning echoes or creatures to fight for you, to solve puzzles, but you can kind of use that sword ability sparingly at times. So at this point, she's actually fighting this mini boss, and she summons a bunch of worms and other enemies to fight it, and then she summons a bed and takes a nap while the other enemies are fighting it. So kind of silly. I'm really excited for this game. I hope it's excellent. I like this art style, just kind of following the Link's Awakening remake, but it looks like making a much more in-depth game based on that art system. So anyways, just wanted to give that game one more shout out before it comes out on the 26th. All right, that is all for the trailers and announcements this week. Kind of a slower week, to be honest. Probably the long weekend and had something to do with that, I imagine. Okay, for games that are free to subscription services this month, not a lot of updates from last week. If you haven't tried or added the PlayStation Plus Essential games to your library, make sure you do that. It's Quidditch. What's that called? Quidditch Champions. I'm doing this from memory, so I don't fully remember. Little Nightmares 2 and The Show 24, I think, the baseball game. Make sure to add those to your library. Xbox had their blog post showing the Game Pass games, at least through the first half of September, and there are 5 of them. First up is a game called Star Trucker. It's available on cloud, console, and PC. That one's available right now, September 3rd. I don't know much about it, but it is that top paragraph, Devin, if you scroll down just barely. Yeah, available on day 1 with Game Pass. Hop into the driver's seat of your rocket-powered big rig as you haul cargo. I don't know, might be kind of similar to this Mud Runner game that we're about to mention, but it seems like it's in space instead. Next, Age of Mythology Retold for cloud, PC, and Xbox or console. This is September 4th, so that's today on the day we're recording. This is also day 1. And this game was made by the creators of the Age of Empires franchise. I kind of liked Age of Empires when I was a teenager. It's been a long, long time since I've played one. This one's a lot more fantastical with kind of that Greek mythology vibe on top of it. So kind of a civilization style game. Expeditions, a Mud Runner game, is out on the 5th. And Riders Republic on the 11th. I think that's a Ubisoft game all about mountain biking and snowboarding and skiing. And I see a wingsuit in that picture. So all of those extreme sports, it would appear. I've heard it's actually pretty good, but I've yet to play it. All right. And then last up is a Train Sim World 5 on the 17th of September. So if any of those sound appealing, make sure to play them before they are gone from Game Pass. I feel like most games are in Game Pass for 6 months to 18 months. So probably have a little time, but they do cycle them in and out. 1 second, I'm going to mute so I can cough. All right. Next up, the Epic Game Store has 2 games this week. First one is Football Manager 24. Basically, spreadsheet, the video game. Not really, but stats and managing a soccer team. I don't think
you'd be so good at this game.
I'm good at making spreadsheets. I don't know that I would care enough about about this, and I don't know enough about soccer.
I don't want to play this.
I don't know enough about soccer to know like what would be important for a player, probably. But yeah, this is all about like running the team, like extending contracts. Looks like you can maybe watch the matches, but I don't think that you play them. So it's really just all management. And, these management games are very popular. Supermarket Manager, and I think there's this football one, and like even NBA 2K had like a management. What's that? Like, it's not a mini game. They have like My Team and the multiplayer mode and then the career mode. And I think they had like a section of those games that was also similar to this. You're like running the basketball team. So people like this stuff. Kind of crazy. I would want to, I don't know, I like a little bit of movement and action usually. Even in games like Roller Coaster Tycoon and stuff, I get a little antsy when I can't control like any character. I'm just like moving, the camera around. Maybe that's why I haven't found like a Civilization game that I've really loved yet, but probably need to try a few more games in genres kind of like this. All right, so add that one to your Epic Game Store library, and next up is Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts. Ooh. I don't know much about this one, but I think it's just another Sniper Ghost Warrior game, which, if I remember correctly, are kind of like a stealth game mixed with sniping, where you can you kind of scope out your area, decide how you want to take them down, but with a much more a bigger emphasis on sniping, obviously, than like Hitman, where you're in there dealing with poisons and stuff. So anyways, add those both to your Epic Game Store accounts. All right, next up, for what we've been playing, this is another week where I wasn't able to play any video games, but I know, Devin, you have been making your way consistently through Black Myth Wukong. I don't know did you beat it? Or is there still a little bit left?
We're very close. We have a few things, a few loose ends to tie up. Yes, very close to the end, I think.
Cool. I may have forgotten to change your video, so this might be a video segment from very early.
It's an older video, but I can touch on a few things from the game.
Yeah,
I've explained a lot. Still loving it. I think it's fantastic. Piece of advice from Player 4 on Twitch is, if you're going to play this game, don't hesitate to do side quests, and they give you the option to respec all of your relics and perks. So if you've created a character build that's terrible, I would take the time to try different things out. For example, I'm in an area right now where I'm standing in water fighting a boss, and I can't use a ring of fire because the water just puts out the ring of fire. And so there's some variation to gameplay. I'm going to go full with a build that does not use any spells. It's going to be full-blown Elden Ring, no summons type of thing to try to beat end game. That just boosts my damage output with my sword, and I don't use spells. So respec your character. Have fun with the game. I think it's fantastic. We'll probably be done with it after tomorrow, I'm guessing. Maybe 2 more days. Yeah. I don't know. But it's absolutely amazing. If it wins Game of the Year, I will understand why.
Cool. So even this close, right at the end, you still loved it. It didn't fall off a cliff at some point or anything.
No, it's amazing. There's a couple areas in the game I think that are a bit tedious, but it's fun. If you change up your stances and your fighting styles, the game is fresh all the time.
I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to do it the weirdest way possible to avoid any spoilers for anyone listening. You get a new ability in Chapter 6, I think.
Yes.
That makes... Did you like that? Or no? I guess just as vague as you can answer that.
Most games pick a play style and stick with it. I thought it was cool that they introduced cool. Something new to the game that we will not spoil here, but basically the game plays in a different way in the last 15-20% of the game. And yeah, I thought it was cool. I don't know. It's unique. It overwhelmed me a little bit.
Yeah, that's the feeling I got when I saw it at first. I was like, oh, that's a that's a big change. I'm surprised they did that, but it seemed like it might be handy at the same time, and it seems like they take it away from you at some parts too, which you can just get back to like the regular action. So, anyways, there's a little teaser there. So get to chapter 6 if you want to know what that is, or just watch Devin's videos on Twitch or YouTube. So cool. I'm still very excited to continue this game. I really enjoyed the first couple hours that I've played, but man, it's so much bigger than I thought. I think you have played it like 7 or 8 full days of streaming, and those days are not short. So the game's pretty meaty. There's a lot in there.
Mm-hmm.
I was
very surprised,
especially like in the first chapter when I started to notice like how quickly you get from boss to boss. I was like, oh, this is probably going to be like a 20-hour game, where, you know, like Bloodborne and Sekiro, and I feel like those are generally around like 40-ish, maybe. It depends like on how in depth you go with stuff, but this one seems like a similar length, to be honest, as most of those From games. Would you agree with that?
I do, yeah. I was very shocked at the amount of content in this game, and backtracking and making sure to do all the little things, and then finding this random hidden NPC to talk to get some ability that most players probably won't get, that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's big. It is.
Cool. Well, once I finish it, maybe we can have a more in-depth chat about it, where we talk about that teased chapter 6 ability and all our favorite bosses and stuff. That would be fun. Anyways, cool. Well, I'm glad that you're still enjoying that. Excited to see what you choose to play next. That's always the $1 million question. It seems like a never-ending kind of tough thing to figure out. We have like an infinite number of games to play, especially like from the past. But then like the new hot thing usually performs better. So it's always tricky. Like, do I get a new game or play something that... So just whatever speaks to you, Devin, since we have so many, is probably the way to go. But cool. Love it. For board games this week, I played a couple. At our board game night last week, I played 2. First up, I played Skyrise again. I have the cool collector's deluxe version of this game, which is really pretty. The game plays on this kind of floating island. And yeah, the deluxe version has these big like plastic pieces that are probably like 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch tall. So it kind of lifts the game off of the regular board that you're playing on. And then each player, this is kind of an auction game. I mean, kind of isn't the right word. It is an auction game. And each player has these building pieces, and on the bottom is a number. And that number is how strong the bid is that you can make with that building. And so someone will start a bid by putting that building upside down on the board so the number is showing and everyone can see it. And then next player will go and decide if they want to outbid that bid by placing one of their buildings with a higher number on a location adjacent to the one that the other person played on. And so then the auction just kind of follows that around until someone has won the auction, or there's no legal place for someone to place the next bid because you've hit like a dead end. And then whoever wins the bid flips their building face up, and everyone else takes their bids back. So the bids will kind of start at one location, then snake kind of around, and end generally in a very different place. Very cool gameplay mechanism. This was a remake of a game I think made about 10 years ago, so I think that mechanism was probably most novel at that point. But this is the first game I've ever played that has that idea of like, okay, it's an auction, and I want to win the locations I want to win. But the idea of whichever neighborhood the bid starts at is not where the auction's going to end is very unique, because usually it's in an auction game. It's we have this one thing we're bidding on, we go around until that thing's gone. But this one is the auction just kind of snakes around. Very cool, pretty game. Very fun. It's surprisingly simple and smooth, and kind of it's not even very long either. You can probably play it in an hour. to maybe 90 minutes with 4 players. But there are some good decisions, like I really need these green neighborhoods. Each neighborhood that you win has a tile's not the right word, a token on top that will help you with either set collection or something to score more points at the end of the game. In the second half of the game, you get your second set of buildings that will also include your wonder, which is your one special building that automatically wins an auction, and you can get points by completing some wonder objectives and other stuff. It sounds like a lot, but it really flows pretty smooth. If someone's starting an auction, it's snaking around like it is shown here on the screen, and then the biggest number, that 84 in the corner, would win unless the blue player decided to play something bigger in that yellow neighborhood, which is the only adjacent neighborhood that doesn't have a building on it already. So yeah, cool game. Really, really like it. I think even the retail version, which again doesn't have the plastic like raised board and the pieces aren't big miniatures, they're still tall, they're wooden buildings, still looks really good in the retail version, which is like 40 maybe $50. So if you've thought about getting this game, I think it's really solid. It's a little lighter than it looks. Like the game is simpler than this looks. It looks like a minis game that would last 3 hours when you first look at it. But it's very much not that. It's a pretty simple, I would say like 2.5 on the weight scale. Game just has big, cool pieces, which makes it look really cool on the table. So yeah, Skyrise is really great. I want to play it a couple more times before I review it on my channel. Maybe at a different player count as well, because I've only played it at 4. And I imagine 3 and 4 would be best for this game. I can't imagine 2 being that great, but we'll see. Anyway, Skyrise, really cool game. Then the other one I played is the Vale of Eternity. I've played this one a couple times this year, and Devin, you played it with me once, really early in the year, so it's probably a little tricky to remember, but it's basically a card game at its heart. You're buying these kind of Pokemon art style type cards, and the few restrictions you have in this game are you can only ever have up to 4 currency stones, and you can never get change when you spend them. So if you spend a 6 for a card that only costs 3, you're overspending. You don't get change back. And then the other restriction is you can only have as many cards played down in front of you as the round number it is. You can have more in your hand. There's no limit on the hand size, but yeah, really cool game. It's basically make cool card combos. The game has a cool drafting system, snake draft, where first player will put out a token to claim a card, then the second player, then the third player, then the fourth. Then the fourth player places their second one, and then it goes backwards from there. They call it a snake draft. So the first player will go first and last. And then you take actions with those cards that you've claimed, either putting them in your hand, trashing them for currency, playing cards down to your area in front of you, and then you get to activate all of your like end of round cards at the end of every round. That can do some cool things, like this one turns all of your value 1 stones into value 3s, or this one gives you 5 points every round. So it's all about like building a combo engine with these cards. Really, really great really, really great game. I think it's really excellent. It plays pretty quick. It's snappy. The drafting is like solid but easy to understand, and there's some really good decisions. So after really enjoying it again, I actually pre-ordered the expansion, which should be here. I don't remember what date GameNerdz said actually, but probably a couple months from now. And that one is the next tab, Devin. But it adds a couple other things, like 28 new cards, I think, and it adds an area tile that you can get that will give you 1 or 2 extra slots in your area. So if it's the 4th round, I could have 5 or 6 cards out if I'm able to get those. And you're able to get these artifact tokens each round. And again, you'll place your artifact square on one, claim it for the round, and then it will go back. And Anyway, so not a crazy expansion as far as like changing the game. There's like 1 or 2 new things and 28 new cards. I'm very excited to see how it changes it up. I know Man vs. Meeple, they're a board game YouTube channel that's pretty big. They really enjoyed it. They called it the perfect expansion in their words. So I'm excited to try that one. Really like GameNerdz, man. They do great stuff. I don't know how they make any money. They just had NerdzDay, which is like their Prime Day. They like I think they put 50 games on like a crazy sale, and they do a new game shows up on their site for the NerdzDay sale every 2 minutes. So it's kind of like a crazy day where you're like refreshing every 2 minutes to see what the new game is. And I bought quite a few because they're just like such good deals. Like Terra Nova, I didn't buy this one because I have Age of Innovation, but Terra Nova was on sale for $15, which is like a $70 game. And so they do like pretty deep discounts. Anyways, they also do this cool thing called early bird pre-orders. That's what I did to pre-order Root and the Cult of Chrome expansion for Radlands, and now this expansion as well. And they give you, man, it's like 20% off the price if you do the early bird pre-order, and then you can just put it in your customer holds section instead of paying for shipping immediately. So you put it in customer holds, you got it for like 20% off. They don't charge sales tax. I don't know how they get away with that, but a lot of board game sites don't, which is cool. And then it just sits in your customer holds, and you can decide to release it later after you have a few more games in your holds where the total price of all of your holds is over $75, so that you get free shipping for all of them. So free shipping and no sales tax and a 20% discount. Anyways, GameNerdz is great. Really great board game site. I feel bad for board game stores because competing with Amazon has got to be brutal, and then competing with some of like the big ones like GameNerdz has also got to be brutal. And I don't know how they make any money, but you know, I love board games, so I hope that they do. Anyways, so Vale of Eternity is really great. I'm very excited for this expansion to see what it adds to the game. Really just super card game with just a tiny bit more than, you know, a 20-minute card game. This is like 45 to an hour. Really, really excellent. So anyways, those were the 2 games I played this week. Kind of a lighter week for me. I didn't play a heavy Euro, but that's okay. It doesn't always work out that you have time. We were a little extra busy this week, but those are excellent games too. If you like kind of family weight 2.0 to 2.5 games, Skyrise and Vale of Eternity are both excellent. So I would recommend those. All right, that is it for what we've been playing this week. For our new section here, Devin, what we're most looking forward to in the coming weeks. I think as far as video games are related, I'm most looking forward to continuing Black Myth, because I think it's just very much a David game where it's just a slightly easier version of a From game. It's got a lot of content. I like the weird story. And the other game I'm very pumped for comes out in 2 days, and it is Astrobot. And man, I love like a happy platformer, and happy is not the right word, but like an uplifting, like Mario. You know, Mario Galaxy, I think is one of the best games ever made, and I just love a good, solid platformer. And I don't know, maybe this won't be as perfect as Nintendo can do with Mario. I'm sure that they would love if it was up to that quality level, but that'll be a hard bar for them to hit. But as far as like everything I've seen from it to this point, it looks super awesome. And it looks like it plays pretty similar to the Astro's Playroom. I think that's what it was called. Kind of demo that came installed on every PlayStation 5. And that's like a great like 4 or 5 hour demo game. And it just looks like that, just with the, I don't know, just creativity and stuff just turned up to 11. I think there's supposed to be like tons of content and lots of levels and worlds and stuff. So I'm very pumped for this one. I think I might get it. My kids are very pumped for it too. They really like that Astrobot. Astro's Playroom, I think is what it's called. Demo. They've played that one a bunch. So when I showed them this trailer today, they were like, "Oh man, is it not out for like a year?" I purposely waited to not. I don't try not to show them trailers too far in advance, because just the waiting is hard for kids. And they were like, 2 days, Dad, you got to buy that right now. We're gonna play it all night on Friday. So we'll see. I'm still thinking about it. I think it looks really great. I do hope that reviews like come out tomorrow or something. I didn't look up the embargo date. So hopefully that is tomorrow. That would be really handy. But yeah, I'm most pumped for that as far as video games at the moment. But there are quite a few big games coming out this fall. But imminently, that's the one I'm most excited for. Any other video games, Devin, that you're pumped for coming up? Or even, they don't have to be brand new. Any old games you're thinking of playing for the first time?
I wanted to play Starfield, but it kept crashing my computer. Anything horror. I have been curious about the casting of Frank Stone. Is that what it's called? Frank Stone?
Yeah, I think that one just came out. I saw some good reviews for it.
Trying to think what else. I want to play the Star Wars Outlaws game. Honestly, even with bugs, they'll get patched out. It'll be fine. And
yeah, it'll probably just take some time. A few weeks, couple months. And sometimes take a while depending on how bad the bugs are. But they will be patched out. I just need
to win $1 million so I can just play like whatever game I want all the time.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
I keep buying these way expensive games and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, video games aren't cheap anymore. If you can be patient, which is a hard thing to do as a Twitch streamer or even as me who likes to play games when they first come out. But yeah, if you can be patient, you can get games for such a steal, even like 3 to 6 weeks after a game comes out. Depending on the scenario, sometimes you can get them for like half off. And I don't know if Ubisoft will discount Outlaws that drastically. Since it's Star Wars, I'm sure it has already got enough pull. But yeah, I do want to try Outlaws as well sometime soon. Cool. For board games, I've got 3 that are pretty imminent that I'm very excited to play. First up, this has been by far my most anticipated game for quite a while. It's designed by Luke Laurie, who I think is my favorite worker placement designer. Cryo is an excellent game. And this is a spiritual successor to a game I almost bought but decided not to. That one's called Dwellings of Elder Vale. That one's basically this game, but instead of sci-fi, it's fantasy. And I like both. I think Dwellings looks really cool, but this one I think looks a little cooler. This is a very big game in a very big box with lots of pieces. It's not like incredibly complicated. I think it's like a 3.5, so it's nothing like, it's not like the Lacerda games I'm hoping to play, like on Mars or anything that crazy. It's basically a worker placement engine building game where you're like building up your fleet of airships, and there's a bunch of different factions you can play in the game that don't play like way incredibly differently than each other. Well, that's not correct. They do play quite a bit differently from each other, but like the rules overhead of understanding each faction isn't too crazy. It's not like Root where you have different, like completely different boards and everything. Really cool pieces like your ships and how you level them up. You're building developments on these different planets. There's so many pictures on this Board Game Geek post here, Devin, that you haven't even got to the board or seen any of the the pieces yet. These are just all the faction artwork, but well, that's not a great picture, but that is all of it. And then there are these raiders, and there's like 15 different raiders that can come out, and yeah, big miniatures. This is going to be a big box, probably the biggest, most expensive game I'll have in my collection. But yeah, I really like Luke Laurie. I like engine building. I like sci-fi, and I wanted Dwellings of Elder Vale for a while, and this one seems like it's a better upgrade for me. So I got an email from them yesterday saying that the fulfillment in America started yesterday, so I should have it pretty soon. It might not be a couple weeks since there's thousands of them they have to ship, but it's getting close, and I'm very excited. It's very cool. Each player has like their own different like tray, and it just looks It looks overwhelming just looking at it right there. There's like the board is really big. There's lots of cards, and but the game is actually not that complex once you like understand, okay, I'm managing my board here, and I've got some stuff on the center board, and we might have a fight there in a minute, but it's not too overly crazy. So anyways, very excited about that one. And then the two games I got on NerdzDay, I'm pretty excited to try as well. They probably won't be here for a couple weeks either, just based on how many orders GameNerdz got on that day. It'll probably take a little bit for that fulfillment to happen. But this one is the sequel to Scythe, one of the most popular board games ever made by Stonemaier, who does Wingspan and Apiary and Tapestry. This, I think, came out last year, maybe? It's the sequel to Scythe, but it plays way differently. It's basically a deck building game, but you're also moving like your own little miniature around this board, and the board is just made up of different hexes with cards between the hexes. And so I got this game and the expansion for it, and I forgot what the expansion is called. Gears of something. Gears of Corruption. There you go. Look at my memory. And it's supposed to be excellent, especially with that expansion. So I'm very excited to play this one too. Again, probably about the same complexity weight as Andromeda's Edge, like in the 3 to 3.5 range. Nothing too nuts. Yeah, so very excited for that one. And then last up, I'm excited to play Abyss again. I haven't played it in a long time, but it has a cool kind of mechanism where on your turn, you flip over cards from the top of a deck, and then you have to, before you can take them, you have to offer them to the other people playing. And if they want to buy that card from you, they can. They just have to pay you in the currency of the game, which are pearls. And the pearls are really awesome. So kind of a cool idea that you don't get first dibs on your turn to these cards. Then you use those cards to do different things, like convince different, I think they call them lords of like this underwater world to your area. It's kind of set collection in that way. This is a pretty even simpler game than the other two, probably like a 2.5. But I did just get the Abyss expansion just delivered about an hour ago. Kraken expansion, excuse me. I have the Leviathan expansion, so I'm very excited to play it with both expansions, which are supposed to make the game even more excellent, and I already liked it. So yeah, those are the 3 games I'm excited to try out. I think Abyss I'll get to this week. Andromeda's Edge and Expeditions probably won't be for a couple, just based on when they get here. But that was a lot, Devin. Which of those 3 looks most interesting to you, Devin? I don't know if I've had you play Abyss. If you did, it was a few years ago.
I mean, maybe Abyss just for like the genre looks crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique theme. Underwater kind of weird creature vibes. Kind of reminds me of like the Gungans in Star Wars. You got Jar Jar Binks down there. You're trying to like get all these lords on your side and win locations and fight like big monsters under the water. Cooler theme in my opinion than the Gungans, who are kind of like derpy. This actually kind of has cool artwork, but anyways, yeah, I like that. Lots of board games delivering this fall. Arcs is still like can't get it out of my brain, so I'm very excited for that one as well. But that'll be a couple months, I think. All right, Devin, that is it for what we've been looking forward to, and the news mini nuke is over. So we're going to get into the news. There's not a ton this week, and every single one of these items is a downer. So we're going to just take the excellent happy mood we've had, you know, starting with horror movies and gore, which really brought our spirits up, and just tank it right now. But here we go. First up is the one that has been talked about the most for sure, and that's about Concord, however it's announced. This, yeah, let me read my little thing I wrote here. After a horrendous launch with the PC version never cresting 700 concurrent players on Steam, Sony is closing Concord down on September 6th, which is 2 days from now. Same day as Astrobot. So go play that instead. Only 2 weeks after the game launched, they posted this update on the PlayStation blog, and it was written by Ryan Ellis, the director of the game. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the important points I'll just read here. He says, quote, Concord fans, we've been listening closely to your feedback since the launch of Concord on PlayStation 5 and PC and want to thank everyone who has joined the journey aboard the North Star. Your support and the passionate community that has grown around the game has meant the world to us. However, while many qualities of the experience resonated with players, we also recognize that other aspects of the game and our initial launch didn't land the way we'd intended. Therefore, at this time, we have decided to take the game offline beginning September 6th, 2024, and explore options, including those that will better reach our players. While we determine the best path ahead, Concord sales will cease immediately, and we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased the game for PS5 or PC. End quote. There was a bit more in the blog post about how those refunds will be refunded, but that was the main idea there. Anyways, that face that you just gave, Devin, I think was just about perfect. I have never seen anything like this. It's absolutely crazy.
It's like, that bad? I didn't hate the beta.
No, and I've actually heard from people that I really trust that are like excellent at multiplayer games and like primarily play like multiplayer shooters, that Concord is like really solid, like as far as like the balance and the gameplay with the different characters, like they've really enjoyed it and that it is solid. But for some reason, it just has not gotten any traction like whatsoever. I think there's probably a lot of things that went into it. I think the $40 price tag, when so many of their competitors' games are free to play, I don't think helped. Some people haven't liked the art style, calling it like a B-tier Guardians of the Galaxy, which I definitely see like the funny reference there to Guardians, but I don't think the art was like so terrible. I don't think that's the only reason that this game failed. I think, and this will kind of lead into our second bummer news item of the day, I think that a lot of companies started chasing these live service games when Fortnite took off, obviously. Like, wow, they're making billions of dollars every month, or what? I don't know how much they make. Too much. We want that, and we can make a game like that. But it's just so hard to make a game with the legs and the amount of content as something like a Fortnite or a Destiny, unless you've been doing it for a long time, it seems. Even like, there's, again, this will lead into our next news item, but a lot of companies kind of forced some of their best teams to try and make games like this. The example I'm thinking of is BioWare, who made Knights of the Old Republic. Got pretty famous and big for that. And then I think they made Mass Effect, right? Isn't BioWare Mass Effect? If I type in Mass Effect here, I'm pretty sure it's going to say BioWare. Yeah, BioWare. So they've made like excellent story-based single-player games. And then EA was like, hey, you're awesome. We want you to make one of these live service games. And they made Anthem. And I don't know, Devin, if you remember Anthem.
I do.
But yeah, same thing. It's just the team they're meant to and have the personnel to make the games they've been making. Single player, really solid story games. And Anthem just was not that and failed. Anthem failed, but also sold pretty well. So this failed and didn't sell at all. So it's a little different in that way. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I have much more to say about it other than it's a bummer. Like, this team's been working on the game for 8 years, they said, which is crazy. And then it sold like nothing. Sony bought the team based on this game and now have shut the game down within 2 weeks of it launching. My guess... I don't know. There's two different things I think they could do in this scenario. they could just never release the game again. That way they would be able to, I think, I'm not an accountant, so I don't know all of the details, but I think then they can write off all of the cost of making the game on like their taxes. I think that is kind of what Disney and some other companies do when they disappear content from like Disney Plus and Netflix. That has been a thing that's happened on those services as well. I don't think that will happen. I think pretty clearly in his note here, he says, we want to explore options, including those that will better reach our players. Seems to me like they were like, we don't want any of our players that paid $40 to be mad when we inevitably make this free to play, because it's the only way that we can make it stand out. So we're going to give them all their money back. We'll spend whatever it takes, 6 months to make it free to play and rework the model. And then launch again as free to play and see if we can stick there. I think that will be tricky because Marvel Rivals launches in December. And I can't imagine them being able to rework this and launch before then. Maybe they could, but that seems unlikely to me. So anyways, that was a lot of thoughts, Devin. Anything that you would like to add? I feel like we kind of covered it. It's a weird, crazy scenario. I've never seen a game shut off like this imminently, but I've also never seen a game that cost this much money to make, made by, you know, one of the big console manufacturers, sell this few. This would be like Mario Kart. I mean, it's not to that level because it's not like Uncharted or The Last of Us, but what's like another smaller example from Nintendo? This would be like Donkey Kong from Nintendo selling only having 700 concurrent players on Steam. And obviously Nintendo games aren't on Steam, so that wouldn't happen, but you get my point. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, at the end of the day, to invest, did you say 8 years into this game?
That's what one of the devs said, yeah.
That's a lot of work. A lot of headaches, a lot of hope for the game. I don't know. It just makes me feel bad. I don't know the people that made it, but I don't want this to happen to anyone that puts so much effort into something for it to just fail.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when like I'm hearing that like the shooter chops are like really solid. Like the game's fun to play, but it just didn't take off with like the audience. Because yeah, I imagine like how much effort and like skilled talent went into making this for 8 years. Like, yeah, that is a bummer. It's crazy. Like, it's just crazy how much of like a game's success can kind of just be based on timing and luck. Like sometimes you've got perfect timing. Like I think Hollow Knight was kind of, and I think more than that, let's drop the Hollow Knight example because it's excellent. I think Shovel Knight, as an example, is like a game that for me isn't a 10 out of 10. It's like an 8 out of 10. I really like it. It's great. But I think the reason it blew up was timing. It was like one of the first Kickstarter games. And people are like, what is this new thing? And oh, for $15, I can like back this project that's going to come out on the Wii U, just to put in context how stinking long ago that was. And Shovel Knight's been like a mainstay since then because it hit at the right time. And this just happened to not be the right time for a $40 live service game. I think like Overwatch was full priced. I think it was $60 when it launched, but that was quite a few years ago. That was probably I don't remember what year Overwatch came out, but long time ago. So that was the right time, and this just isn't the right time to launch a live service game for that amount of money. And Sony probably was hoping that it would work out, especially since like Helldivers just launched at $40 as another like multiplayer offering. But Helldivers is way different. It's not a competitive shooter. It's like a fun co-op game where you don't really care if you're doing great because you're laughing with your friends. This is a very different beast that needs like a competitive scene and like all kinds of things like that. So yeah, I don't know. Just wanted to give it a call out. It's been the most talked about thing this week by far. There are actually people that want to get the platinum trophy before the game is taken down tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Friday, excuse me. And so to get XP as fast as possible, get that platinum trophy, both teams like start and run in opposite directions and all jump off the level to die. And whichever team dies first, the other team defaults to win and gets the XP. And so sometimes you get lucky and get the XP, and sometimes your team died a little too fast, but they've just like made a game out of it. Everybody just sees who can kill each other, themselves the fastest. So if you're doing that, best of luck. I hope you get the platinum before it is gone for a while, but I'm not sure. I could see it going either way, but 51% of me thinks that Concord will come back free to play at some point. All right, next up, talking about teams that made absolutely excellent single-player games that were forced to make. I don't know if even forced to make is the right word, but decided to make with probably quite a bit of urging from the publishers that own them. A big live service game. This is one of the premier examples of that with Rocksteady, coming off of Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight, and then Rocksteady started working on this game again. I think it took them like 7 or 8 years to make this game. Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League, which came out, I want to say, like the beginning of the year, maybe. And yeah, it was also a commercial failure. I think Warner Brothers said, maybe an investor call or something, that they had lost $200 million on this game. So again, just it seemed pretty high quality, but I don't know as much about this one as to whether it is or not, but didn't take off commercially, so nobody's really played it. Anyways, the team, Rocksteady, has unfortunately been hit with layoffs, probably because of this. Game took forever to make, didn't make any money, and yeah, I think Eurogamer had the article here, and they said that the QA department, or the quality assurance department at Rocksteady, is going from 33 to 15. And they didn't mention any other numbers specifically, but they did say that the layoffs continued outside of quality assurance as well. So again, just such a bummer that I think the Arkham trilogy is one of the very best trilogies in video games ever. Like, so good. That combat style that they kind of created has been copied by so many games. Shadow of Mordor, Spider-Man, and I think like Batman and the Joker in there with Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy. Just some awesome stories. But then yeah, they're kind of again forced to, hey, we want you to make a DC live service game. And it's just I think it's a hard transition for a team that has been making single player games. They even delayed it by like a very significant period of time to try and make the launch be more smooth. But yeah, it just didn't work out for them either. So wanted to give a call out to them. I hope that everyone that lost their jobs is able to find, new work. I imagine having Rocksteady on your resume is pretty solid, but feel bad for people whenever that happens. Next up is more layoffs, though. There were layoffs at Ballistic Moon. This is the company responsible for the remake of Until Dawn, which this is a weird article because that remake doesn't come out for another month, maybe 6 weeks. And usually layoffs don't happen until like after a game comes out and doesn't sell well. So I'm not exactly sure what to say about this one, but they announced that they were having some layoffs. My only thoughts here could be that Ballistic Moon, obviously like contract with Sony here, who owns the Until Dawn property. And so Sony probably paid them, hey, we'll give you $10 million or whatever it is if your team makes this game for us. I feel like most game, I don't know for sure because I don't work in game development, but just from what I've heard online, I think most contracts between like a developer like this and an entity like Sony also include some sort of profit sharing. Like, okay, we'll give you the $10 million, and then if the game sells really well, then Ballistic Moon will make 10% of the profits going forward, or whatever it is. I wonder if they like didn't include that in their contract, or they're not optimistic about how much this is going to sell. Because it does seem weird to have layoffs right before the game comes out next month. But again, hearts go out to anybody laid off. Couple sad things there. All right, and then last up in video game news, we've got a few things here related to Xbox. It was kind of a weird week in their PR. This game is called Enotria: The Last Song, and it comes out on September 19th. I think they had a big trailer at Gamescom. It's like a Souls-like game that, in my opinion, doesn't look incredible, but sometimes, these kind of knockoff versions of a From game can be pretty good. So maybe it's great. I don't know yet. They posted a post on their blog page and said that the Xbox version of this game was delayed indefinitely so that they could focus on the PlayStation and PC versions that launch on the 19th. And everyone was like, what? That doesn't make any sense, really. They followed it up with a post on Twitter saying, quote, "We believe that Xbox is blessed with a huge gaming community, and we would love to release Enotria on your platform as fast as possible, as we spent a lot of money and resources to make it happen, but this task is nearly impossible with Microsoft taking months to reply to us when we have the game ready for submission. If you'd like to help let Xbox know about our situation, if we had a dedicated Xbox account manager help us out, this issue would not exist. Thank you so much." Anyways, so kind of immediately that got retweeted like crazy. And with a little more digging, I actually found out that Xbox's team and Phil Spencer reached out, who is the head of Xbox, reached out to this company, and this one actually has a happy ending. They said in a follow-up tweet, "We would like to officially thank Phil Spencer and his team for reaching out to us so promptly and helping us to resolve our situation. We would also like to thank our amazing community for all the support shown in recent days. Your voice has been heard very loud and clear, and your commitment has been heartwarming. We are now working closely with Microsoft, and we hope this collaboration will lead to the game's release for Xbox as soon as possible." So it's still not coming out on the 19th, like it is on PlayStation and PC, but that was just kind of a weird one. Xbox is in kind of a weird place right now with their relationships with different development teams. I think mostly because of the Series S, which we'll talk about in just a second after I cough yet again.
Did Enotria have a demo? I feel like I played it.
Maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Let me see. Enotria demo.
I feel like I played it a couple months ago.
I think you're right. I'm seeing a demo preview. Enotria demo is out 3 months ago. Yeah, I think you're right. Did you like it, or did it seem janky? What was the...
Yeah, 90 days ago is too far away. No idea.
That's true. Yep.
I feel like I think that it was fine, but I don't know.
It's hard to tell from a brief snippet with these games, to be honest. Anyways, two more things kind of on the same Xbox conversation. At the at Gamescom, there was a big segment for Dune Awakening, which is that MMO that's coming out based on the Dune universe. And they announced during this trailer, after showing some of the gameplay and base building and stuff, that the game was coming out to PC early in 2025, and then to PlayStation and Xbox would be following after. I think this chief product officer on the game, his name's Scott Jr., he was asked a question about working with consoles and specifically about releasing it on the Xbox Series S, and he said this, quote, "So it's been one of the reasons we're coming out on PC first. There are lots of optimizations we need to do before we release on the Xbox. But yeah, Xbox Series S is a challenge." End quote. This has also been really big news this week. I think a lot of developers are nervous to say things like this. Just knowing that Microsoft is watching or whatever. But there have been a few that have said things like this. Like the Baldur's Gate team specifically called that out, I think a couple years ago before the game released, and that's why it was late on Xbox. And then this one, And I mean, there were some like rumors that Game Science with Black Myth Wukong had said the same thing, that they were struggling to get it running how they wanted on the Series S. Microsoft kind of said that's not true, and Sony signed a deal with you, and that's why. Anyways, there's lots of drama with the Xbox kind of ecosystem right now, as far as is the Xbox Series S holding the platform back, especially when the PlayStation 5 Pro is about to be announced imminently, it seems. They're kind of, just in a weird place. I actually saw a tweet from GameStop that they will give you up to $272 in-store credit for an Xbox Series S, and they cost $299. I think it depends on a few different variables, probably like the condition, and I think you get a bonus, like a trade-in percentage if you're one of GameStop's Pro Rewards members or something, but that is a pretty good like trade-in amount. I saw some posts of people online saying, wow, they actually did. I went in and they gave me that amount. So I don't know if people are trading those in like more often, or I don't know what's going on. It's kind of a weird situation with that thing. I feel like it seemed smart maybe at the time, like, yeah, we'll have like the more casual players that want a $300 Xbox can play most of our games. They just won't look as pretty or run as smooth. But Microsoft has this clause that if you release a game on Xbox, it needs to run on both. And it seems like that's holding some games back at some point, at least to some extent. Also very intrigued by this Dune game. I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but some sections of it look really cool. And other segments, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to play an MMO. So we'll see. But anyways, that's all for the news this week, Devin. Just some bummers. People mad about Xboxes and people getting fired. And Concord just vanishing. So weird stuff.
Crazy.
Last up, in movie and show news, there was a teaser trailer today for the Minecraft movie. Couple thoughts about it. I don't think it looks very good, to be honest. I hope that the actual trailer looks better. First of all, what in the actual heck is Jason Momoa wearing?
Hold on. What's he wearing? Oh, yeah.
It seems like they're going for like a Jumanji vibe, that maybe he was like a teenage girl that was transformed into Jason Momoa. I'm not 100% sure. Man, it looks weird. Other than that, like, I don't mind the special effects. I kind of like the kind of blocky looking creeper and the Minecraft goat, or what's it called, llama. I really like Jack Black. He says I guess he's Steve in this, who is like the main Minecraft character. Kind of weird that he just looks like Jack Black, but I'm such a big Jack Black fan that I can probably get past that. I don't know. I thought the trailer was kind of disappointing, to be honest, but my kids watched it and just being obsessed with Minecraft, they're like, yay, we have to go see that. So I don't know. It's going to make a ton of money, I bet, just because Minecraft is humongous. But I don't know. I don't think that teaser looked very great. Hopefully when they release the full 2.5 minute trailer, it will be more exciting looking than that. All right, that is it for the video game news this week. So we're going to hop into board game crowdfunding corner. We've got 7 games that we're going to look at. Most of them, and well, I guess all 7 of them end before September 20th, kind of within the next, what is that, like 10 to 15 days-ish. Yeah. First up is this one with a weird name. I don't even know how to say it. How would you say that, Devin?
Sneferu.
Yeah, Sneferu, Builders of the Pyramids. Maybe that's like some word in ancient Egyptian that I just don't know. But cool idea here, in my opinion. It's like a pretty light, simple 45-minute game for 1 to 4 players. The art is done by the Micho. He's a pretty famous artist in board games. He did, like, I have Architects of the West Kingdom, and he did that art. I also had Coloma for a while. He has a very distinct art style, kind of this halfway cartoony looking art. So I think the art's really good. And then this designer designed another pretty popular game called Project L, which is kind of like a riff on Tetris, with like putting these different shaped pieces onto these cool cards. It had a really cool like vibe. This one looks somewhat not similar in like the Tetris-y vibe, but as far as like the chunky tile kind of drafting vibe, you take a token out of this tray, and that tray will like determine how much food and how much time you have to pay for the tray, or for the token you take. And then you have to pay those things. With the food is an actual token that you have, like currency. And then time, you move your boat on this time track to pay for time. And then you put those tiles on your own little personal kind of board that is in the shape of a pyramid. Eventually, you're going to, and that's showing the time track there. Eventually, you're going to like close off a connection of colors. So I think they show here, he's closed off this green set of 3. So he made a set of 3 connecting, so he gets a bonus of 4 foods for that kind of connection. So it's a pretty simple tile placement game where you're trying to connect patterns on your own board. But it seems very simple to play. Like that bag just refills whatever token was taken. And for a light game like this, I don't know. I kind of like the vibe that it's going for. Need to read the rulebook a little bit more just to see exactly what the mechanism behind the time track is, and kind of the point of moving your boat. I did see some different colored spaces on it, so maybe you get some bonus if you land on certain spots. But cool artwork, pretty simple game. And I think I don't think the pledge was that expensive either. Was it $30, Devin? Trying to remember. This is on GameFound, and I get a little confused with theirs. Okay, close. It's 32 euros. And I think it was like $15 for shipping because it's coming from, I think, Europe somewhere. Anyways, so I don't know. I thought it looked pretty cool. It could be a solid kind of lighter game. That is Sneferu, Builders of the Pyramids. It ends on the 14th of September. Next up is one of the biggest ones in crowdfunding right now. This is Barrage, the Legendary Box. A lot of games do this when they are a big popular game and have had some expansions come out. They release a giant box inside of which you can hold everything. And so this box, Devin, how much do you think that box is? The box.
I just saw it.
Oh, you did. That's all right. That's the all-in. If you want the box that has the game, that has the expansions, and has all the deluxe components, you can just get the empty box. It probably has 22 plastic trays and stuff. But other than those, the box is empty for people that already own the game to like put inside, and only have then at that point one box to hold all the stuff. 55 euros. So $60 box. $60 empty box, I should say.
Wow.
But these are a thing. They happen often. Barrage is a very famous game. I think Luciani is one of the designers. I don't remember the last name of the other one, but it's supposed to be a very mean game. I'm generally not a fan of too much meanness in my games of like, okay, I'm going to destroy your plan. Sometimes a little bit of it is okay and good, but this one's supposed to be really mean. You are I think you're trying to harvest energy by building these dams along this like system of rivers, and if you build your dam upstream from another player, then basically you get all of the benefits, and you've blocked off like the benefits going downstream to the other player. So it's supposed to be pretty mean, but I know it's a very well loved game. So if you like Barrage, if you've played Barrage, or if you have everything related to Barrage except for a big empty box, then this is probably a campaign for you. But yeah, that all-in price is, wow, it's brutal. It's like $300 before shipping. $309. when you convert that from euros to, that's kind of crazy. But again, I like Cranio Creations, I think is the name there, right above the big barrage letters. Devin, what does that say? Cranio Creations, I think, is the company there.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So anyways, that's I love like a Euro game. Like, this is all me, but I think this Euro game is a little meaner than I want it to be. I would love to try someone's copy, but I'm not going to buy this game yet until I either do more research or really know that I can put up with the meanness. That one ends on the 17th. Starter. Okay, next up is the Quest Kids, Realms of the Kingdom. This is an expansion for an earlier game called the Quest Kids, and it's a halfway cooperative. Well, not even really. It's a competitive game with slightly cooperative moments, and it's aimed at kids. The box says 5 and older, which I think is a cool age to put on the box to aim for. Most games, like 8 plus, is usually the lowest you see on a board game box. But I watched a video on this one, and it does seem pretty simple. You basically move your character through this dungeon, and based on the new tile that you explore, it will either be green, which means it's always a good thing. Gray can be either good or bad, and red is always a monster to fight. You do stuff. And the symbology is really big. It's not like the most pretty artwork in the world, but easy enough that I think a 5-year-old really could understand it. The Dice Tower, I know Tom Bassel played it with his kids, and they were really able to understand it no problem at all. I like playing games with my kids. The one that we've played the most is probably, well, we've played a few, but Chronicles of Vale is kind of one in a similar fantasy theme. I've also played Deep Dive, Space Invaders, and Crokinole and Clask. And I think there is like one or two more. Yum Yum Island they really like. We played one with them just a couple weeks ago. What was that? Oh, it's a Oh No Volcano, which is a pretty good one from Phil Walker Harding. Anyways, I really like games that are directed at kids, and this is supposed to be like a really good one that is even, fun to play as an adult. It's not like incredibly in depth or anything. You basically move to a tile and either fight a monster or get a new resource. It has this cool mechanism where the stars in the game are points. So if you defeat a monster, the bottom of the card has a number of stars, and you'll get those points at the end of the game. If you flip over a monster and you don't have enough resources to defeat the monster, then one of the other players in the game can play that resource to help you defeat the monster. And by doing so, they will get to draw a card from like the kindness pile or the kind hero pile, which will also give them some stuff. So they're incentivized to help sometimes too. So again, it's a competitive game. You're trying to get the most points, but you can kind of help each other out a little bit. Again, helps with the kid vibe, I think. So there's a new expansion, Realms of the Kingdom. I think has a new character and some new scenarios, and then they are selling the base game in there as well. So if you like to play games with kids, I wanted to give this one a shout out. It ends on September 18th. That is the Quest Kids. Next up is a solo-only game. They're calling it a solo plague survival game. It's a roll and write where there is this plague kind of trying to destroy your town. And at the beginning of each turn, you'll roll 4 dice in two of 2 different colors. And they will determine where on this 12 by 12 grid, which house or which square is hit with the plague, and basically that house dies. If that house is hit again, then it spreads to all 4 of the neighboring houses, and so you're trying to protect your houses, and you can put some in quarantine so that if they get affected or plagued, it won't spread. You can use these different ingredients to, I think, heal some of the people to stop the spreading, and you lose the game. I think the sentence they had in the campaign was you lose if the shape of the plague and destroyed houses in the town matches a few failed shapes. I don't think they showed what they were. Maybe in the rulebook they did. But so if you get too much plague spreading around, you'll lose. But if not, then you can heal the people and save the town. It's supposed to be a pretty cool idea. This Nuka Zombie company has made, looks like this is their 8th created project, and at the bottom of this campaign they have their other ones too that you can look at as well, and they have quite a few different games there too. This game was, I think, recommended by the developer of the game that we both gave our pick of the week last week, the developer of Hive, that Bee game that we thought looked cool. So I wanted to give it a shout out. I know a little less about this one than I did about Hive, and I think Hive looks a little better just because it has a bit more like clarity and interesting sections on the board, where this one just seems like it's a town, and that town is basically just squares. There is like a little bit of detail behind the squares of like, this is this neighborhood. I don't think they called them neighborhoods, but and this is this neighborhood, and you don't want like a full neighborhood to be plagued or something. And I guess when you see it there, it does look better. The artwork is pretty cool and like gothic kind of feeling. And you can get, I think the $5 pledge gets you the game. Or they have a couple different maps. I think there's one based in Africa as opposed to England. And maybe one more. Yeah, there's Africa there. And then this one is Aztec. Yeah. Or you can get like, and China. Or you can get a bundle that has them all. So, yeah, I really like these. There are so many of these like roll and write print and play games. I don't try to bring up them here in Crowdfunding Corner unless I think they look like a step above I do that with all of the games, because if we just showed all of them, we'd be here all day. But Lepra, I think, looks like it could be a pretty solid one. Cool artwork. And it looks like a cool puzzle, even though I think that map of just squares is a little bland looking, but sometimes I don't mind if a game looks bland if it's just fun to play. So that one ends on the 18th as well. Lepra. Next is a game called Winter Rabbit. This is a semi-cooperative worker placement game. It was made by a team of, I think, what they said, they're an indigenous-led team, and it's based on, I think, Cherokee folklore. How it plays is you will, I think, draw a tile from a bag that has different animals on them. I guess the rabbit is kind of the bad animal. You generally, anyway, you're going to draw one of these tokens, and you're going to put it on a location face down. So nobody's going to know what you put where. So there's going to be a lot of like reading the room and probably talking to the other players, like making promises that you probably break and things like that. If somebody puts a rabbit at a location, then the resources there aren't gained. It says they're stolen and must be recovered later. But if nobody put a rabbit there, then when the location is full, all of the tokens flip over and you get stuff. So I think that's part of the game. I think they call it morning. Then in like the main phase of the game, you can play another villager, build your village with these cards, or restore kind of the damaged land. I thought the artwork looked cool. Cool idea. Like that it's based on a theme that we don't see very often. And I'm not usually a fan of semi-co-op games. This one seems like it has a kind of fun idea with it, because that would be a little hectic. Like, I don't know what you put there. I don't know what you put there. But we're all working together. If you scroll up just a tiny bit, Devin. Right there, stuff right there. This track, you're going to keep track of the resources that everyone has gained. If you fill the track completely by the end of the 4 seasons, then everyone's prepared for winter, and then whoever has the highest score wins. But if those 3 tracks there are not filled, then everyone loses. So that's the semi-cooperative thing, where you kind of need to work together and not, screw the other players over too often so that you can fill that track. But at the same time, you want the most points. Weird kind of balance. Some games do that I think, really well. Nemesis is probably one of the most famous. Well, that one's more of like a hidden trader, I think. But anyways, interesting idea. I wanted to give it a shout out. I do think it's a little pricey, but the pieces look really cool. And they're, from what I am understanding, a small publisher, and it's hard to get really low pricing until you've got like excellent manufacturing deals and stuff. But cool idea. That is Winter Rabbit. It ends on the 19th. Okay, 2 more. Next up is Northwest, a very cool looking game where you are taking dice. They look like dice, but basically they could just be tokens. They said they wanted this Kickstarter to feel deluxe. So all of the pieces are nice wooden dice shaped, but the sides of the die, I think, are all the same. If it's a leaf die, it's a leaf on all sides. If it's a pine cone die, it's a pine cone on all of the sides, I believe. That will fill like this center board, and on your turn you can move this little hiker pawn that will also be on the center board and take one of the dice, and then you'll put that die on your own board, and you're trying to build your own board in a way to score the most, and each of the different types of die have a different like scoring shape they want to be in to score points. Like some things want to be next to pieces of the same type. I think the Sasquatch wants to be not in the same row or column as another Sasquatch. The bee wants to be surrounded by like a variety of other types of die that are not bees. So you're trying to puzzle all of that out to get the most points. But that worker on the middle board, where he is, will dictate which die you can take from the middle board. Whichever die the person before you took has like some movement rules associated with it. Like the mushroom one, if you took the mushroom and then it's my turn and the worker is at the spot where you took the mushroom, then I can take a die in any of the 8 surrounding spots. But if it's like a bee, then I have to move like a knight in chess in an L shape 3 spaces. So there's different rules based on what someone took before you. Cool little spatial puzzle idea. It kind of reminds me of this game that I haven't tried yet called Baron Voodoo, but this is a much like more nature and happy. Well, happy's not the right word. Like a minimalist nature theme. And I think it looks really cool. I like the double layered wooden exploration board. And I think it's a pretty good, maybe this is the one that was $30 that I was like, wow, it's like they're calling it deluxe with a wooden board. And yeah, $30. And I think the shipping is a flat $15 for anywhere in the United States, which is not a terrible shipping price, to be honest, for a Kickstarter. So I thought that was a pretty solid and awesome price for the game. I want to read the rule book a little bit better to like understand the rest of the scoring possibilities, but wanted to give it a shout out. I thought it looked unique. Also pretty simple. Probably plays in a pretty short play time. And it's multiplayer solitaire in that you're doing your own thing on your own board, but you can look over and see like, oh, they want a bee. I don't want to move the hiker on the main board in the middle somewhere next to a bee or whatever. So you could kind of, it's like hate drafting a little bit in Azul or something. You can kind of mess with the other players a bit. Looks like a cool one. That's Northwest. It ends on the 19th, also on Kickstarter. All right, and then last up, this is a reprint of Raw. I think Raw came out in 1999 from Devin, who designed this game.
The Good Doctor.
The Good Doctor. He did, yeah, Reiner Knizia. It's one of the most well-loved auction games ever. And it got a very pretty reprint a couple years ago here from 25th Century Games. I think it's been very hard to find. And so they're doing a reprint campaign. I think it's really cool that they're doing this because, again, it's been tricky to find. They have a few different items in this reprint. They've got the standard edition, which is probably the one that I'm most interested in. The Pharaoh and acrylic edition are cool looking, and I do like the metal like coins in those, but it's quite a jump in price, from $40 up to 90 or 100. And there already are some wooden pieces in the standard one. And then there is a Traders expansion there. Again, lots of wooden pieces in that $15 version. Raw and Right is a different version of Raw entirely. Meant to be a kind of a roll and write game, but instead with cards. And then a new one called Razzia, which I think is a different like mafia rat theme added on to Raw. So just a bunch of different versions. You can mix and match stuff here. If I was going to get it, I think I would get the standard version plus the standard version of the Traders expansion. And yeah, I've been thinking about this one for a while. Raw is supposed to be, like I said, one of the most well-loved auction games of all time, I think. I just, I need to look into it a little bit more. I really like the visual design here too. I think, if I remember correctly, Ian O'Toole might have done the art in this one, and it is very cool. So anyways, that's a reprint of Raw if you've been looking to get that game. It ends on the 20th, also on Kickstarter. All right, Devin, 7 games to choose from on your pick of the week. Which game is going to get that coveted award from Devin?
I want to say Raw, but I don't know enough about the game. It just, from what it looks like, it looks cool to me.
It does look cool.
I am going to pick. I'm going to pick for a couple reasons. Just the vibe, the colors, the price point, and it's unique in the fact that it seemed kind of strategic and like a puzzle game. I'm going to choose Northwest.
Yeah. I think that's a good pick. I think it looks really good. And again, when the campaign started by saying we wanted this to be a really deluxe campaign, it starts with wooden pieces and everything's like nice and thick and like pretty. And I was like, oh, it's going to be $100. But then I scrolled down and I was like, wow, $30 reward? That's like crazy. I mean, there's not a lot of components in the game. They have those, but there's 64 of those memento cubes, dice, whatever we want to call them. 4 boards. There's a bit in there. So it seems like it's a pretty good deal to me as well. So I think that is a good pick. I think I can't decide. I don't think I'm going to choose the Raw reprint, even though I might back it just because I'm curious about that game. Since it's a reprint, I think I'm not going to pick it this week. I think I'm going to choose the one that we don't know how to say. I'm going to say Sneferu, Builders of the Pyramids. I like the idea. It looks pretty light and simple to play. I like how simple it seems to like upkeep between turns. You basically just draw a new tile and fill in the spot that was the tile was taken from. And I kind of like a public market like that where everyone can see like a big stack of what's available. And as they're taken, they slide down. And so you're hoping like, ooh, I hope they take this one from that column. So the one that I want continues to slide down and becomes cheaper. It's, drafting kind of at its most basic kind of form, but I think that seems pretty, I like it. And I like the artwork by the Micho. The pieces look pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. I think this one, I'm guessing, just looking at that time track here, that the first player to get to these different locations on the board, these little checkpoints, is probably like gets that bonus tile. Like that one's 1 food, then 2 food or something. That'd be my guess. I don't know for sure, but I do like a short game that I can play in half an hour that's just like consistently good. That has like, and that's one reason I really like Scout right now, is it's just like 20 to 30 minutes and man, it's cool. I generally, that's kind of the time frame I like, is something that's cool in a short time period, or I want it to be 90 minutes to 2 hours so I can really sink my teeth. For some reason I like those 2 time frames. I don't know. When you get into like the hour mark, I'm like, I wanted you to be a tiny bit longer so that I feel like I've built up a little more, or I wanted you to be a tiny bit shorter. I don't know why. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But yeah, I think that one's going to be my pick of the week, even though I don't know how to say it. We got Sneferu, Builders of the Builders of the Pyramids as my pick of the week. Cool. Well, that's going to do it for crowdfunding corner this week. All right, Devin, in closing, with all the bad news we had with Concord being shut down, I wanted to just end with really quick, just a short little segment about games that I think were bad. Maybe we didn't know. Maybe we did know. But we liked them or liked them anyway. In video games, this is a little bit of a tricky subject just because I don't feel like there are many recent games that I've liked or even played that are bad. There's just so much information nowadays. There's thousands and thousands of games that come out every year. So when I'm curious in one, I Google the crap out of it, look at review scores, watch videos, and I know pretty much if I'm going to like it. So it happens very rarely nowadays. But growing up, like, the internet wasn't a thing because I'm 1,000 years old. And yeah, you just didn't know. You got games for Christmas and you didn't have disposable income. And so you're like, yeah, I got this game. We're going to play it for 9 months, even if it's terrible. So anyways, I thought of a few. I know you added a few here as well. So we're just going to go through these 5 video games, and then I threw on 3 board games that I consistently play that I don't think are like great board games, but I still enjoy them. So that's what we're going to end the show with. If you think of any new ones, Devin, we can throw them in too, but I think this list of 8 will be a good ending. First up, I know you've mentioned this game on the show quite a few times, and this is one that we loved when we first got our PlayStation in 1995 or 6. This is Pandemonium. It was made by Crystal Dynamics, I think, and it's a very weird, quirky. It's really just like a 2D platformer, but they tried to make it seem 3D, where like you're on these 2D like planes, but they'll, like, this is showing kind of wind around a pillar, or you might be able to turn right or left at like a different spot, or now we're going up. I don't think the game was great, but man, we loved it. And at certain points you can turn into like different animals and stuff. I need to like play it again in like a modern setting on my Rogue Ally and see how bad it really is, but yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts on this one, Devin?
It's just super nostalgic to me. Yeah. This game brings me thoughts I haven't thought in a long time.
Brings back all the thoughts. That's funny. Yeah, a lot of the PlayStation 1 games, I feel like, especially where like the art style just hasn't aged well. They're just like that weird blocky. Like if you compare this to like games on the Super Nintendo that were pixel art that have just aged like so well and still look beautiful, whereas like you look at this and you're just like, ew.
Yeah, this looks like trash, to be honest.
So yeah, that is kind of a tough thing. Kind of nice that like we talked about the Croc remaster last week that's coming out, and it is nice when they're able to like if this game got a remaster, so at least all the what are those called? Not the textures. Dang it, there's a word for it. Like all the artwork, all the models, I don't know, are all crisp at least, so they don't have like all the fuzzies and like it's at least 1080p even in its jankiness. Then I think that would help it out. Oh yeah, here's Frog Boy. Oh man, Pandemonium, what a weird one. A couple more very PlayStation strange. 1 games that I could think of. Well, actually just one. We loved Twisted Metal growing up. Funny story, our dad is an insurance agent and did the insurance for Incognito Entertainment, who developed this game and some of the other Twisted Metal games, and David Jaffe was the I think one of the leads there for a while, who created Twisted Metal and God of War. He's a pretty big name in the PlayStation world. Anyways, this game was one that came out that I don't think was very good, but we loved the idea, and it is just kind of silly. It's called Twisted Metal Small Brawl, and instead of being like the big cars, you're playing as RC versions of like Sweet Tooth on different like that one. Instead of being like a big Twisted Metal level, that was on a playground, and there's one in like a kitchen. Oh yeah, it's right here. You found it. So yeah, I remember really liking this game. Just looking at the UI on the right with like that rocket, I'm like, man, you couldn't have made that look a little bit better. There's a S weapon, but I remember liking this one. But I'm sure it's not as good as Twisted Metal 1 and 2, which I think we really liked. Oh yeah, there's a plumber. Yeah, I remember that guy. Funny. I guess before we do the next one, let's hop one more down, kind of in the same area as the PlayStation and the Super Nintendo. We really liked this game. I think Devin might still have it in your closet since you have the Super Nintendo.
I think I do.
This is Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. I think that people have kind of come around on this series, and we really liked it back then, especially just because it was Star Wars themed. But man, it's incredibly difficult. So hard. I think this is a game that, like, specifically, I don't know if it came over from the arcades, but it felt like an arcade game that was trying to kill me to bleed me for quarters. But I was playing on a Super Nintendo, so there were no quarters to be bled. And so I just feel like they should have made it like a little easier. But we like
the only level we ever saw because it's unbeatable.
It's true. Like, you finish this one, and I think you get into the cave level. And I don't remember anything past that one because I don't think we could beat it. But...
We need those save states. Is that what you call it? Where you can just save whenever?
Yeah, if you play it nowadays
and then
on
we
an
could
emulator,
probably
you can
beat it.
Yep, save scum that like crazy. Anyways, I thought that was a good call out too. I think you can play those on the PlayStation 4 nowadays, which is kind of crazy because I think they've brought those back in collections. Next up, I remember this game from our Xbox. I remember getting it at Costco, I think, which is such a weird thing because Costco doesn't hold like a wide variety of game. They have like random ones from time to time. I liked this game because it was Looney Tunes focused. I thought it was going to be like a Looney Tunes story game, but it was like 3D Looney Tunes Super Smash Brothers, but worse. You basically choose a Looney Tune and then you beat the crap out of each other with like these weird special like power-ups and stuff. And yeah, it wasn't very good, but I remember like thinking, this is fun. I'm playing as Bugs Bunny or Tasmanian Devil. I don't remember a ton else about it, but do you remember this one, Devin?
Once I pulled it up, I feel like I have a memory of this, but
yeah, I think that
not 100% sure.
This and the cover of the game is like, I think all four of them maybe in like profiles against like a black background. I remember that cover as well. So that's Loons, a Looney Tune
epic
fighter game. It's not very good, but we played it a lot. And then last up, I think this is one that, looking back, people like, but it's not like amazing. It's kind of like a Mario Party ripoff. It was Fusion Frenzy for the original Xbox, and it just had a bunch of different mini games, and whoever did the best in the mini games would win. I kind of liked how it was simpler than Mario Party, where Mario Party has like a lot of like catch-up mechanisms, like, oh, you might accidentally win a star because you're in last place because Nintendo wants you to catch up. This one is more like, no, you lose. And it had a few really fun mini games, like the sumo ball one, where you were in that big cage ball trying to knock each other off.
Yeah.
And then the next one after this is Twisted System. I think this is probably the most remembered, where you have to jump and duck over these pipes. And I don't know, I really liked Fusion Frenzy. We played it a lot. Shout out to our cousins who had this one. I don't think we owned it, but we shared Xbox games with them from time to time. And that's a fun one.
Yeah.
I think it had a sequel, but I don't think I ever played it. Cool. Those were the 5 video games that I could think of. Again, none of them really like recent or anything. Because again, I don't play a lot of like bad. You know what? I can think of one maybe. I played Yooka-Laylee with my kids, and I don't think that one is very good. I really liked the sequel, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Dungeon or something like that. That one's 2D though, and feels a lot more like Donkey Kong Country, where Yooka-Laylee, the first one, is like trying to be Mario 64 and Donkey Kong Country 64 or Donkey Kong 64. And I didn't like that one very much. So it's kind of few and far between nowadays, I think, that you play a game that you're like, yeah, that was bad, but I kind of liked it. Just because I don't give them a chance, because there's a bajillion games. All right, and then for board games, I can think of a few that I don't think are great games, especially by like today's standards. The first one I thought was amazing, but again, I started playing Yahtzee like 25 years ago. I remember getting the digital Yahtzee game for Christmas one year, and I just played hundreds of rounds of Yahtzee on that thing. And I thought it was the best game ever. I still really like Yahtzee. It's kind of what has gotten me into roll and writes, because it is like the original roll and write in my opinion. Maybe there were more before it, but it's just really inspired a lot of games. So I think it has like a 5 rating on Board Game Geek out of 10, which isn't very good. But I still enjoy like a good solid 10-minute, even 5-minute sometimes game of Yahtzee. Next up, a game that I don't think is like amazing. It's just kind of a silly gimmick, in my opinion. Both of the next two are kind of a silly gimmick. This one's called Space Invaders. I think Flip Ships is what it was called before, but this is a different version that has this little launch cannon. And it's basically Space Invaders, the video game. These cards move down towards the screen, and they are the invaders. And you have to flip these bullet tokens onto them with this like catapult launcher. And you can like aim it with the joystick on your left, and then you smack the thing on the right to launch the bullet. And you have to kill all the cards, and then kill the mothership at the very top, which is quite a launch, to be honest, before you take too much damage as the world. It's a very simple, kind of fun game that my kids like. You can like upgrade your ship and like get some better tokens and things like that, but pretty simple cooperative game. And then last up, another gimmick. This one's called Yum Yum Island. This one's been a hit with every child that I've played it with. And it's actually pretty fun for adults as well. I got it on sale once for $3. And it's absolutely worth that. I would think it's almost worth 10 times that. Pretty simple game where you are trying to feed all of these animals before this giant guy in the middle eats all the food. And on your turn, you take this kind of turtle launch bay, align it in front of you, pointing that arrow at whichever animal you're going to try and feed, and then you put a blindfold on. And then with that blindfold on, you pick up a number of food discs from the turtle, and then you can feel that triangle to help direct you. But then from that point on, you're not allowed to touch anything. If you accidentally touch one of the trees or anything else, you have to immediately drop all your food. And so you're trying to get over that animal and drop the correct food into that animal's mouth. Some of the animals want the pink meat, some of them want the green vegetables. Before you turn, you roll a die that determines if your teammates can talk to you during your turn, and so they can tell you like go left a little bit or right, forward a little bit. So it's a very simple cooperative game where you're just having a fun time. Your kids are laughing at dropping stuff and it going in the totally wrong spot. It's actually pretty tricky, but it's been a big hit with basically every child under 10 that I've played it with. Played it with a 9-year-old. Our 7-year-old and 5-year-old really like it. So, Yum Yum Island. I don't think it's great, but I think it does what it does pretty well. It's a fun and silly, fun 10 minutes with your kids. So, those were the 3 that I immediately thought of. Again, I'm especially with board games where like shipping is so expensive and they take up so much space. I'm very picky with the board games I buy, and if I'm not liking it, I will sell it like pretty quick. And so I feel like I even less and less nowadays I play like a board game where I'm like, that was okay. It's usually one I've researched so much, I'm like, I think I'm gonna like it. So
I have one board game incoming into this.
Love it.
And that's going to be the good old categories, for the one reason that there's not enough of a rule set to gauge that game, so it is not satisfying to win that game. Yeah. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's all based on everyone's opinions. If your answer is good enough,
Yeah, I agree. I do think there are specific rules in the rule book that I think help it a little bit. I think that like when we played it growing up, I'm fairly certain that copy that was grandma's or mom's or whoever, the rule book was not in there. And so like we're just kind of house ruling things from time to time. Because I think if someone disagrees with you, I think you take it to a vote. And then the majority wins on like voting if your answer is valid, which I don't remember doing as a child. It was more like, oh, if this person said it wasn't valid, then we just didn't count it. So I feel like it's a little more fair if you play it nowadays, but that's totally a game that I think falls in this category of, I don't think it's great, but we played it a lot and it's okay. It's a good call out, Devin. I like it.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. Well, that's going to do it for episode number 23 of the Super Game Brothers podcast. Thanks so much for watching, listening, following the rest of the stuff we do on our YouTube channels. Make sure to check out Devin streaming on Twitch and the Super Game Brothers YouTube channel and on TikTok every weekday. We'll see what he plays after Black Myth Wukong. That will be fun to discover. And yeah, make sure to join our September giveaway. Did I forget anything else? Oh yeah, check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/supergamebrothers. Your support there is how we keep the lights on. So thanks so much again for listening. We will see you next week for episode number 24. Till then, have a good one.